Boom. Hello, welcome to the Small Game. I'm your host, Rob Williams, Stream.
Boom.
40k adjacent show. That's what we're in. Yeah. It's way too quick. Joined by Val, the Heffelfinger, and Pete. He's never tired. He's always just stoned. The Falcon.
Yeah.
Special guest
Rob,
today.
you have to understand something.
Oh yeah, please. Yeah, do tell me.
No. I need to tell. I need to know the special guest. I can't see it. Who is
He looks great today.
it? Look at that guy. I just got my Twitch app open on my phone. Look at him. Man, what a shot. So Rob, there was a time in my life when I would set my alarm to either She Is Beautiful or Party Hard by Andrew WK, and I thought that was appropriate to wake up to. It isn't at almost 40, apparently. Just too much right away. Too much right away.
Have you decided on how you're going to change it up? What you might put on instead?
I don't know. Like maybe some Bruce Springsteen. What do 40-year-old people listen to? I guess I'll find out.
Only Paul Simon's Graceland. That's it.
Oh man.
Which is actually a pretty good life as far as I'm concerned.
I feel it. I think that's what when I hit that age, that I will have to move to it. Oof.
Growing up. Oh, go on. After you, Val. Sorry.
No, it's just an alarm clock story because I think everyone wants to hear it. Growing up, I had this analog alarm clock, but it was like a model train, and so like every morning it would be like I was about to get hit by a train. And there was this like little click that would happen before the alarm would go off because it would then be like woo woo chugga 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 chugga, and it was terrifying. And I would wake up on the click, and I'd be like sprinting across the room to like hit the button before that nightmare started. It was great.
So there's some suggestions in the chat on what to listen to. Tristan's all about Hard Times by the Constantines, Alive and Kicking by Simple Minds. The Honest War gave a 40k Down Under, big shout out. Oh Yeah by Yellow. You should wake up to the Honest War gave a theme tune. You could do that. Kenny Loggins. Gitley does Something by Back. How fancy is that? Stu Flynn.
Yeah, it's very fancy.
Fleetwood Mac. Is it easy to get weed in the middle of Canadian wilderness? This is a random question.
I don't think that's a song, but it is. There's a dispensary just down the road.
You looking for something? Yeah, what do you need? Just slide into the DMs, pal.
Hello, welcome to the 40k Jason Show, where sometimes we talk 40k.
And then other times we deal drugs.
Anyway, whose birthday is it? Is it someone's birthday?
I don't think so. I just wanted to talk about waking up.
Before you go. Thank you to Dodgy for subscribing, by the way. Are you both well? Pete, are you doing okay? That's my question.
I'm doing okay. A little sleepy, but doing okay.
Oh, so sleepy.
And what about you, Val? How are you doing?
I'm great, man. What's going on? Feel like I had my anniversary yesterday.
Oh, congratulations! How many years?
Only 7. Only been 7 years, and we've been together a lot longer than that. But
baby
7 years. 7 years married. How many years for you?
Yeah.
Dude?
14.
Married?
Yes.
Were you born in the 19th century?
I got married at 24, turning 25. And,
were you worried about getting drafted? What? Really?
Listen, I found a beautiful woman, and I got to get this because she's for some reason thinks I'm okay. And
I get that.
Gotta nail this down. Nail this down right away.
Can I just say that I don't know if you guys are aware, but dating in the 2020s is a hilarious feature of life now, because it's really like the 18th century where you go for walks along promenades quite often. It's all that is done. Everyone just walks at a stately affair. Yeah, that's just to catch you both up. Thought you might be interested.
COVID,
good.
COVID is peak British courtship. That's fantastic. So you're just hitting some like Wuthering Heights and shit, so that like you're really on top of your game.
It's got to get on the
Emma?
moors. Yeah. Yeah. And explore.
Talk about go learn about the sublimity of the British countryside. Very nice.
Very, very nice. Very nice. Although I live in an inner city, so really it's just someone
Squalor.
on my walk here. Yeah, score. That's really it. I actually walked past the methadone clinic on my way here. It's real sweet. They're all trying really hard. Bless them. Hello, everyone, by the way, in the Twitch chat. Thanks for joining us, guys, for another 40k Jason show. I've actually, honestly, lads, lost track on what number we're even at. That's why I kind of skip it at the beginning. And maybe Scrivo can work it out for us at some point. But I think we're like in the 250s? Maybe? Like,
Who knows?
Getting
Who
close.
cares? Let's just make numbers up. Numbers aren't real anyway.
Four
Just like
Twizzle.
birds.
That
Yeah,
is
birds
true.
aren't. What? And Australia. Australia, not real.
Yeah.
Adam Camillary's got to be out there. Yeah, he is. There he is.
There he is.
He
You know,
assumes
he's
that
not
it's
real.
episode 69.
He
Why do we
does.
He always does.
He does.
What an asshole.
So
We've been
is
on
it-
the show more than 69 times, and he still thinks that's the episode. So
Just want to point out, everybody, that I have the coolest shirt in America, and I don't even live in America.
You tell us about it.
Well, this is an official four-season landscaping in Philadelphia
nice.
shirt. The top says "Make America Rake Again," which I find endlessly hilarious, and every time I think of that slogan, I giggle. The bottom says "Lawn and Order," which also I thought was an excellent play on words.
An excellent play on words. Is this because, of the press briefing outside the lawn?
Yes, obvi.
Obvi.
Out back of the
Yeah.
right across the street from the crematorium.
So Games Workshop have got a preview this weekend, right?
What?
Like, I mean, jumping on
Yes.
that would be an 11 out of 10 opportunity for them to hold that outside some sort of lawning place at the same
Oh,
time.
Or no. Just get Rudy Giuliani to do it. Like just call up Rudy and have him unveil the new lineup. I think that would be excellent.
That would be excellent. It
Do
looks like it's-
you think we're stupid? Of course it's a Space Marine. Do you think we're dumb?
He was America's mayor, Val. He was America's mayor. Give him a break.
yeah.
Okay.
I never understood that. I don't know what Bush. What are your thoughts on America's mayor? What is that from? Does anyone know? Because I never understood that reference.
He's the mayor of New
9/11.
York during 9/11.
was it.
Oh,
Yeah, man.
okay.
And then old
Yeah.
W down there showed up with his bullhorn. I don't know.
Mhm.
Everyone remember that one? He showed up the next day. It was very nice. It's good of him.
It's nice. I didn't know any of that. It's fun. I'm learning so much about
Really?
the Bush administration.
What were you doing at the time? I thought everyone was just watching CNN.
I honestly, when I remember being at school during 9/11. I know I'm bringing it up, so fuck it. And I came home from school, and I walked in, and I was like, and it was on the news, it was on the TV, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. It's so weird that's happening. And then like it didn't really dawn on me like they were like people are jumping out of buildings. I was like, that's way too far. That's not gonna be good for you.
Yeah.
And and it took me a long time to really understand and empathize with it, as in like several hours. And then like later on, people were being sad. I was like, oh, you're telling me I should feel sad. I understand now. Thank you. Apologies. But yeah. But then my favorite thing, I used to do night shifts. So I would come home like 2, 3 in the morning.
What is your favorite thing about September 11th, Rob?
Oh, no, hold on. Not that. It's the war after,
Oh.
the war in Iraq. Because arguably my favorite character from the whole air arena administration of that time was, as you know, the publicist / head of propaganda for the Iraqi army. Who was the
Baghdad Bill? What was his name?
That was his name. He was the best. You'd come home and you see firefights. I'm like, this is a sweet thing to come home to at the end of the night. But then he'd be there, and he'd be like, there is no way Americans will ever come into Baghdad. And behind him on the screen were American tanks, like GIs just like leaning up against it. And I was like, I want that level of confidence in my life at some point. I want that. That set me on a journey, I really do think. Comical Ali, was that his name? Baghdad Bob.
Chemical. I don't know if it was Baghdad. Was it actually Baghdad Bob? Because I kind of pulled that on my butt. Comical Ali, that's great. That's a good one. It's a play on Chemical Ali.
Do you remember that press briefing? It's YouTube.
Of course I remember that guy. He was always standing on top of a roof. Yeah, man.
He's the best.
It's weird actually going back to some of that era footage because it's not in high def. It's really weird when the aspect ratio is 4:3 and like everything's not super crisp.
Yeah, I agree. Like when I watched 40 Towers religiously. Right, so
bringing it back.
Well, Scott B brings it up because I was thinking, talking about the Games Workshop preview this Saturday, what if they got Comical Ali to do it?
Who knows what he's up to? He might be busy or probably very dead.
Well, I think they should hire some famous people to do it. But they're going to talk Death Guard, right? Are you guys excited about that, PD?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they get. I've heard some good things about the Death Guard Codex that's upcoming. So I'm very curious to see if it's enough to kind of lift up Chaos as a whole. Death Guard have been doing okay already, so any kind of even small buff to them might it'll be interesting to see if it shakes up the meta at all. I'm always excited about a new codex.
Me too.
Anyone see those blurry photos of a 6-up disgustingly resilient save?
No.
Fake.
Yeah, all right, we'll see. I think if it is 6-up, they should
fake, but it's fake.
They should change it to like uncomfortably resilient, or maybe like disquietingly resilient. Just not disgustingly. I think that's just too much if it goes to a 6-up.
The question is it actually resilient? Like it's like at what point, like 5-up, I felt maybe you could argue that that's resilience enough. But really, like if you went to a 4-up, you'd be like, no, that is genuinely a resilient. But 6-up, I'm like, you're kind of disgustingly like, tough-ish.
Tough adjacent, as it were.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really good example of the limitations of a D6 system, man. Because like that swing in variance between one number and the other is pretty big.
It's pretty significant. Which is why we're still pushing for a D20 gaming system, right? That's
D10 would be cool. Again, I always talk about how Apocalypse is the best rule system, but they use D10s in there, and it's pretty awesome.
Why is it the best?
Because it uses alternating activations at the detachment level, which I thought was really cool. You also do like this cool thing where you like pre-do. It's epic. Like I don't know if you guys did you play epic back in the day? I actually didn't either, but other people have told me that it's like epic. The movement phase is I go, you go, and then it's alternating activations, and you kind of reveal your choices. So like there's like a command and orders phase where you like secretly assign orders to everything, and then you activate and do the thing. It's cool. I think it's a really slick system.
I would like to have generally alternating activations, I think, but I'm not sure. Not sure at all. But I'm excited for the Death Guard. It's one of my favorite legions from the Heresy. So I'm pretty hype about that, and maybe
great heresy color scheme. I feel like they have them and the World Eaters both. Like I feel take big step downs once they become heretics.
Agreed. That's the
problem
with fashion.
The white blue was a nicer look. The white blue was a nice, just a nice look. I agree.
What is World Eaters red now?
Yeah, red gold.
Oh,
red and gold.
Scotty, red and gold. What are you, Donald Trump? Come on.
Red and brass.
Oh, that's not a color scheme, is it? That's rough. Yeah, but the white and blue.
And also, when you're white, it just shows the blood so well. Like if you really want to emphasize your blood spatteredness, the white blue just looks great. You lose it in the red gold.
That feels very like chaosy. Like you buff it up very white. Well, you don't. You have some servitors doing it, some slave dudes, yeah, like who like are eternally punished. They're like, why don't I just paint this red? Because this would really save us all time. And they're like, no, shiniest white. And then they go out, bring it back, and they're like, God's sakes, this is just frustrating. I'm sure you got that to look forward to, Val, with kids covered in mud.
Covered in mud, barf, poop, all that stuff. Sometimes all at the same time. Sometimes while coldly looking you in the eye. But it's fine. They're adorable.
Are you guys hoping for anything else from a preview at the weekend?
I want to know what the new Xenos book is.
Ooh, okay. Is that going to be this weekend, though, do you think?
Well, you said anything else you want to know from the weekend, and I'd like to know what the new Xenos book is.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
It would be about
You
time
mean the
for them
one
to reveal
for
it.
January? Yeah, it'll probably be about now. The secret book for January release.
Yeah.
That's not Dark Angels. Yeah.
Yeah. It's about time. Because they usually go about a quarter at a time.
I the Slanesh stuff I think is Age of Sigmar. I think we're getting Slanesh Mortal, so I don't think that's 40k, which is a bit of which is exciting for the Age of Sigmar community, like very much so. A bit weird, obviously, like Slanesh had such a big release last year, but it kind of makes sense because now all the demons are like sorted, if that makes sense, for 40k and for Age of Sigmar. But definitely Death Guard, and I'm really excited for it personally.
Would that make all of the range? Did Khorne get an update? Khorne got new the Beast guys.
No, over the past 4 years, 5 years, over the past 5 years, there's been all the Bloodthirster stuff came out, and then later on, eventually, you ended up with some new Khorne dogs. So Karnak and the Hounds.
But Bloodletters.
No, you just got all the Bloodthirsters during the end times. So that was like 5 or 6 years ago. And then, you got a big Tzeentch release, a big Nurgle release, a big Slanesh release. So like demons are like done. I assume that at some point there'll be like an undivided release of demons, which I think would be quite interesting. Is Be'lakor a big deal in 40k or not?
It used to be. He was big in 7th.
Yeah, lore wise, they kind of dropped him like a hot tamale quite some time ago. He really hasn't seen much talk and gameplay. He's been in a couple top 4s because he's like the only unaligned demon, so he can summon anything. So sometimes you'll see him in a list occasionally to get that flexibility, but he's really bad for his points otherwise.
Do you think, like, what, you know, because I know demons are doing okay, like some different demon builds competitively, but do you feel like demons, like, because demons are okay also in Age of Sigmar, whichever ones you pick up, generally. Like, I feel like I don't know, I think they're doing okay in 40k, or fine. I think, like, this is...
They are one of the best armies in the game.
Yeah,
Chaos Demons are one of the thing is it's basically 2 builds that are working.
Let me correlate that with some Age of Sigmar. Oh, so Slanesh is really good. Like, and what's the other one that's good?
Like an undivided mix. Usually, one or 2 Keepers of Secrets, one Big Bird from Tzeentch, a bunch of Nurglings, and then maybe some Bloodletters or Horrors or something to kind of act as like a tie-up unit on top of the Nurglings, and then Beasts of Nurgle or some other kind of really resilient anvil. And that's kind of the list right now for demons, outside of just pure Slanesh, like Keepers, Fiends, and Demonettes. And you just bum rush the opponent. If you have a lot of terrain, which a lot of events are moving to, is more and more line of sight blocking, then Slanesh does real well when they can't be shot. So you basically have one turn to kill as many of them as you can, and then like they're inside you.
Are they ever? Are they ever? Getting back to model ranges here, I'm just trying to think. So Khorne, you got the Bloodletters. You got the Plague Bearer. Is the Plague Bearer an old kit, or is that a newer kit? That's an old kit, right?
The Plague Bearer kit, yeah, old.
But the Demonettes are brand new. And what the hell and the Horrors are brand new. Okay. So I'm just kind of. I feel like Khorne's been shafted. I feel like Slanesh has been fully revamped, and that they're absolutely staggeringly beautiful, and I love that army.
Every range got redone apart from Khorne, like overly. I mean, you got new.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. I was looking to be agreed with on that point. We can move on. Thank you.
Yeah, they've had some great releases. It's interesting. There's no correlation really between demons in Age of Sigmar were like Slanesh demons specifically, keepers, etc. were phenomenal for a good 9-month period. But not so much now. They generally get shot off the board because Age of Sigmar is incredibly shooting heavy, and we've got no terrain, which is a good segue to an event this weekend where there was a lot of terrain. Is that correct?
It was like comical amount of terrain. It's a comical amount of terrain, and I'm friends with the TO of it. I'm pretty sure it was run by Kelly, right, Pete? That was his event. So
it was like a replacement for Warzone Atlanta.
I spoke to him on the Army Painter show.
On the what?
The Army Painter
on
show.
the Army Painter.
He's very good friends with he's very good friends with Adam Brown. That would make sense. So Kelly Wallace, he runs Warzone Atlanta, and he's been a 40K snowflake since the snow started snowing, and he's always had the Atlanta guys have always had their own bespoke format that sort of was I think mostly inspired by sort of Adepticon style stuff, but old Adepticon anyway. It's fun tracing the way things develop, and they went crazy. They went insane with the amount of terrain that they put on the table, and then made it player placed. So I saw one where it was this I think there was 10 large ruins on the table, and they had all been placed so that they were literally front to front, so they were just a wall down the middle. So anything that was a vehicle or whatever just literally couldn't go anywhere.
They could barely fit. So the Warzone The Dark Times event had had player placed terrain, but there were certain specifics you had to follow when you placed the terrain. Okay. Those giant ruins had to be more than I think it was. And if Kelly's watching this, he's going to be screaming. It was 4 inches apart or something like that. At the minimum. And certain pieces couldn't be on the outsides, but when it comes to player placed terrain, I hate it for a lot of reasons. One being that it's in the GT pack is how you're supposed to play the game, but they had an example table of what he wanted with these sets because they made basically I think it was 20 or 30 of the exact same terrain sets. There's an example table that's beautiful, and it's if all of the tables had looked like that, I think it would have been amazing. But because they made it player place, you had situations like the one I sent you guys where somebody's playing Slanesh Demons, I believe, is actually on that table, and they've set up all the large pieces in the center with the minimum spacing between them all. So there's one lane you can shoot through and move through giant units, and then everything else is a friggin' party. But it's such smashed together that if you go through that middle, there's all those demonettes just easily made it across the table because there's nothing you can do. Anyway,
it looks like they're playing the Batman the Batman miniatures game where you just play on one city
they're in
block.
Gotham City.
Yeah,
they're in Gotham City. The outer edges are all craters, and then the middle is just giant skyscrapers, but lots of them. Yeah.
On the other hand, though, their MDF terrain is fantastic. It's really textured. Once they get it painted, it's gonna be really great. I wonder what the maker is. It's really textured nicely. It's great.
He posted it somewhere, and I can't remember what it was called. But on paper, if they had not done what they did with this player placed, I hate that people want to try to make that a thing.
So is that just being pedantic? Is that what's going on there? Because step 6 is it's pretty it's pretty hilarious. If everyone whip out Pete did this to me over the weekend. Whip out your GT 2020 mission pack and check out step 6, which is, what is it? Define battle space or some shit?
Yeah, where you set up all the terrain for each game.
For every game. That's silly. Why would they do that?
And then, they made the players. Did they give them any extra time in the rounds to place the terrain?
I think so. Like I'd have to go back. If I look at the scores, most games look like they went to completion or close to completion. Unfortunately, it looks like the final game, as far as I've been told, ended on round 2 for the top table, which is a crying shame if that's it, because I mean, it's AdMech's first win, so I'm not going to take it away from AdMech. But man, round 2 in 9th edition, what's happening? What is happening? But chess clocks, so like it wasn't like one person got screwed over from a time perspective, but just round 2.
Maybe they just couldn't see each other.
Maybe the chess clock was in the middle of all of those buildings.
Yeah.
And they couldn't reach it, so they didn't know they only had like 5 minutes left.
It was actually a very thematic display of Big Ben, and they had to like reach like 8 feet in the air and like, hit the top, and it was just pain in the butt.
I can't imagine that being. I liked the image that you sent as much as it was wild. It kind of like made sense. It like I could kind of see. I was like,
what makes sense about it, Rob?
I liked the picture. Is where I'm going to go with it to start. Then after that, I'm gonna say that it looked cool and like the little dudes just fighting seemed pretty fun. Like the little avenues for them to run around in. However,
you should get into Infinity, Rob, if you like that. I'll tell you. You should
Okay.
get into Infinity because Infinity is all that. I actually really enjoy Infinity when it's got a good terrain table. It's a good time.
Yeah,
I think the thing is, I think I think gets to like the core of one of Pete's frustrations is just like Games Workshop, just give us some friggin' set piece examples. Like just say what it is.
Baby. Yes.
Say what and step 6 is clearly a cop out to avoid them having to, for some reason, to say what it is, because like, you guys figured it out, and they've been doing so good at this. Like they haven't been doing that. They've been saying what it is, and then it's just hilarious that the pack actually says, "You guys figure out how the terrain works." Well, because they haven't done that in almost every other circumstance. It's weird. It's a weird deviation of like one of their worst habits.
It's a direct rip from the like the main rule book, right? Like that's why they just copy pasted from the main rule book where it's like, here's how you play a casual game. They're just like, boop, here you go for tournament players. It's word for word. All of that like page is a direct rip, except for like the small paragraph where it's like, here's your extra match play rules to not screw it up.
So
that's weird, Pete, because I'm pretty sure this clearly says Grand Tournament 2020. They just cut and paste that.
Yeah.
They never do that. Wait, question though, Val. That book specifically, have you got the code on the back so that it can be in your app?
This one?
Yeah.
No, it's already in the app.
Oh, it's free in the app?
Free in the app. Yeah.
For the Grand Tournament 2020?
Pete, I mean, Rob, whoever you are, you're probably just trying to set me up to rag on Games Workshop some more. And
I'm not.
Look,
I'm not.
Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it.
It's okay. The answer is no. It's not in there. Yeah. That's why I'm very excited because I assume Chapter Approved used to come out in the winter. I assume they're just going to skip that this time round because it's so new from the new edition.
Wondering about that. Wondering about that.
I don't think we'll see a January Chapter Approved. I don't think we'll see one. I think we'll see one in July.
I think that accidentally happened with 8th edition because they brought the playtesters in probably around the time that they sent 8th edition to print. That would be my guess. So they needed to add the patches because they were scrambling all the way through the beginning of 8th edition to get it sort of fixed because it was kind of it was definitely patching on release, so they needed to have that December drop for Chapter Approved because it adjusted points and basically just points, really. I guess there wasn't really anything that sexy in it, and it was also a really weird adjustment. Anyway, neither here nor there. I think it makes more sense for it to be updated every June because that's when the editions generally change.
Yeah, so
what do you guys think?
I mean, happy with that personally. Like, 6. It also gives you like a season window, like July to July. Well, no, that would give you July to July. You would probably want next Christmas for them to be at least do in Age of Sigmar. It's a new edition and or GHB in the summer, and then we have a winter point review. So we have like a 6-month season, which I think that's quite nice personally.
I like it.
You guys think? Do you think that's too quick?
No, I would like it. Every 6 months feels okay, as long as they're willing to adjust for we made a big whoopsie. That would be it. As long as they like have the way to be like, hey, listen, yes, we released this new model. We didn't realize making it 4 points was a mistake. Probably should have been 400.
And so now Gretchen will be 7 points a model.
Yeah, but if they are willing to do that, and then yes, I think every 6 months is super to just be like, here's like a general kind of tune up of what's going on. I think that would be super. It'd be super duper.
Yeah. I'm really.
I could already tell you like probably 10 or 15 units that need point increases or decreases easily, and I'm sure if you ask the general public, it'd be hundreds of them. But
needs more data, Pete.
More data. What I would like to know, what just from the Twitch chat and just from you two, Pete, more than anyone is going to have actual information on this. But just
whoa! Come on, maybe
I watched those videos I sent you from Carol Kozyrkov.
Yes, sir.
There's some good stuff in there about analysis versus statistics. You don't need statistics to make an analysis.
I agree.
But it's helpful.
Yeah. That's why we're all good at what we do.
In honor of the Bush administration, truthiness, gut feel, can take us a long way. So hit us with it. What's the question?
Yeah, the question is what do you think needs points up, points down? Obviously, Stomper. That's straight in.
Codex Stomper.
Codex Stomper. Straight.
Codex Stomper. Where do we think it's going to wind up? Because it could be in the 700s, pal. I think 750. I think is probably where the Stomper winds up.
But I want it to be 600.
Well, see, then I think they'll point it so that you can't get 3 in a super heavy detachment, and I think that's fine.
Is it? Does anyone mind? Don't Eradicators just take them off the table?
No,
like
they don't.
Route.
They really don't. Maybe the Death Watch Eradicator situation where there can be like 400 of them in a list, but like most people aren't bringing
33. It's not that many.
Most people aren't bringing 18 Eradicators, and you'd need more than 1 unit to kill a Stompa dead in 1 turn, and you'd also have to get close enough.
Okay, all right. Fair.
So I've been thinking about this, mate. Okay, I've got this. All right. Basically,
okay.
the orcs are. I think the orcs are fairly good at being able to jab people away from them. I played with it the other night, and it was transcendent. It was amazing.
The Stomper.
Oh yeah, the custom Stompa was just a comical amount of output, and just so like demoralizing, because you re-roll everything, all hits because of Evil Sons, and then you get Dakas on 5s and 6s. And then you re-roll those misses again. So like you're getting as many hits as you had dice to roll in the first place a lot of time.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And he just chucks dice. He chucks so many dice. Like he's just vomits high damage, high quality shooting. It's fantastic. Love him. Custom Stompa all the way. I am Bellfinger. There's some anal cyst for you, Scrivo.
All right. Yeah. So what are your units then that need adjusting, Pete?
I would increase Inceptors by Plasma Inceptors particularly, but if you increase them, you might want to touch the Bolter ones a little bit. But I'm thinking 5 to 10, probably 5 points. 10 feels good, but it's probably too much. I think we've noted in the past that it doesn't take a huge point increase for things to generally line up, especially smaller models. So yeah, about 5 to 10 points for Plasma Inceptors. They need a bump. They're just too good at everything. So that's like the number one priority in my book. I would probably up Harlequin troops by 1 to 2 points each. Because they're like Harlequins now are, and this is mostly because Marines are good and Harlequins are just stomping Marines, but Harlequins are now like in a problematic situation statistically. And the Marine Codex, the new Marine Codex hasn't changed that at all. We'll have to see if maybe Dark Angels or Blood Angels puts them into a better spot, but right now, like they're dumpstering. everybody, but Marines in particular, like a 70% win rate into Marines. So they probably need to tone down. I would say Big Bird needs a look at for Chaos Demons. The Exalted Lord of Change needs a point adjustment up. Not a huge one. 15, 20 points probably is fine for such a big model, and it'll still be extremely playable, but it's the combination of rules it has right now is like it is abusive to most players, so it needs a bit of an up. Keepers of Secrets probably need a slight increase as well.
Are we talking like Big Bird is in what used to be termed Big Bird, like the Forge World guy?
No, not Alphabet Soup.
Yeah.
He's fine.
Okay.
The Big Bird now is the Exalted Lord of Change with the special Feel No Pain, where he regains wounds if he makes them, and he has the 3+ invulnerable save with a reroll. He's super good. He's like, unless you're playing AdMech or something with a ton of mortal wound output, he's basically impossible to kill. He'll score you like 15 to 30 secondary points just by existing, because he can take the middle of the board and just like Psychic Ritual or whatever 3 or 4 times, and it's nothing anybody can do about it. Like, you can't hurt him. So he probably needs a point increase unless they do a rule change.
Are people winning a lot of events with that particular build, or like doing well in games? Right.
Yeah, like Chaos Demons are like second or third right now in terms of like win rate and other like of the valuable stuff, and Big Bird is a big part of that, unless you're running mono Slanesh.
So do you think Big Bird like should still be a part of the game, but just
like
you just have less of it, if that makes sense?
You either make it a little more expensive so there's less of an opportunity cost to run him, because right now he's just way too efficient across the board. The better answer would be change his rules up slightly so that he's not effectively impossible to kill for most armies. But I don't think we're going to get that in the near future. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that other January release is the Chaos Demons Codex, but I doubt it. I think we'll probably be looking at like second quarter next year for that. So it's going to be around for a while. And if that's the case, then a point increase is probably a good way to go with that. I think attack bikes are probably a little too cheap. We're starting to see them more and more and more. And
just
to the point where they
like sidecar attack bikes.
Yeah. To the point where like eradicators have almost stopped existing at top tables, because multi-melta attack bikes are in almost every way better eradicators, and people thought eradicators were oppressive as it was. So having something that's moves 14 to 20 inches if you're running White Scars and still capable of shooting without a loss of ballistic skill.
Tiny footprint.
55 points per model. Also has twin bolters on it, so it can shoot at smaller targets as well. There's a lot of good in multi-melta attack bikes. Heavy bolter attack bikes actually not too terrible either. Probably one of the only things that works for Imperial Fists right now is running like 9 of those, because once again, small footprint, you get the most out of your doctrine. So I would say probably a small increase on them, 5 points or so would probably be good. Eradicators in the same vein, just because they're pushing vehicles out of the meta. I would look at Sisters of Battle.
Do you not think? Sorry, Pete, I don't want to interrupt your flow. But I just want to ask: do you not think that? Because I asked this question on the show on Thursday. Do you not think vehicles are just more pushed out the meta because they're not scoring it? It's not scoring it. We have this thing in Age of Sigmar as well, where monsters, so hero-based monsters, normally see their way into lists very traditionally. No matter what, obviously it depends on if they're even any good and how the army plays and a bunch of other stuff. But generally, as a rule of thumb, hero-based monsters, good, gonna see play. Other monsters, specifically single models, so that's what I'm more talking about when I compare them to vehicles and tanks and other stuff. So single models don't generally see their way into play unless they bring some horrific output, or they're a really big buff piece, or something like that. They have to fulfill a very specific necessary role. They can't just do okay damage, because if you're going to have okay damage, you might as well have 20 bodies doing okay damage as a sort of setup. And I wonder if... Oh, go on.
No, sorry. Like, finish your thought. Your
It was
sentence.
just the thing is my personal thoughts are I wonder if there's less general vehicles, toughness 8 sort of stuff generally romping around because they're not good for scoring. Is kind of my thoughts.
There's something to say for that. Bring them down is way too easy to score a secondary. So if you run, 5 vehicles, you're basically in a lot of situations, unless they're super points efficient, you're just giving your opponent points. So outside of Death Guard, and Sisters of Battle, because you are seeing like Mortifiers and Exorcists just because they're so points efficient. But that's really about it. I agree that is another issue with it, but I would say like you completely void the reason to take any vehicle by having a 40-point model that can drop most of them by itself, or a 55-point model if you want the speed.
Melta isn't dropping most vehicles by itself. Like on average, maybe it's fucking up a lot. It's fucking up a lot.
It's doing enough because you can make them efficient enough very easily that it's crippling a vehicle a turn if it's not straight up blowing one up.
Yeah.
And a squad of 3 Eradicators does just like wipe out pretty much anything
just
outside of Death Guard, right? So for 120 points, you get a unit that does that relatively quickly, or 165.
I think the issue is not just Eradicators and Melta. I think Melta in general, it's pointed like Melta used to be. So like it's too cheap. So like they reduced the cost of Melta because no one was using it because it was too expensive compared to Plasma and other things. And now they've improved the rules and kept it the same points cost. Anyway, that's fine. But also I think Harlequins, which is 1 million fusion pistols plus haywire bikes, also probably has something to do with the fact that vehicles are dying out there, and they're like 7% of the meta right now.
7%?
Yes, they are. They're definitely bumping. Oh yeah, they've skyrocketed, which is why you're seeing less Marine wins. Is Harlequins are taking them out. Like they've doubled, they've tripled since 8th edition, but they've doubled since the start of 9th in terms of popularity, because everyone has now figured out that Harlequins are just better than most other factions.
Is it a conversation of rock paper scissors where Harlequins are excellent versus Marines, and then there's a Harlequin counter, or not?
There is a Harlequin counter, but people aren't running it because a Harlequin counter is generally the same thing that counters hordes. So lots of small arms fire. And
would the hordes itself be a good counter?
Yeah, but people really aren't running that a ton right now. And Skyweaver jet bikes are actually really good into hordes because they have blast. So I shouldn't say really good, but they're they're decent.
They also just shoot a lot.
Yeah, but like Marine builds that used to do a ton of bolter fire don't anymore. We don't see a ton of intercessors or things like that, things that can actually deal with Harlequins relatively easily. So Harlequins are just kind of running roughshod on most lists that are building to deal with elite units or are elite units themselves.
See, that sounds fairly healthy though. Like ultimately, like if there is an available counter to Harlequins, it's just like they just dunk on Marines because Marines aren't. Like it also sounds like they're dunking on Marines who aren't specking to fight Harlequins. They're dunking on Marines that are built to like fight. I don't know what. I guess other Marines.
Other Marines.
Yeah. So like, I like that because like obviously I don't know the direct minutia and but it does feel like there's more of like an evolved meta there, and it doesn't sound like they're problematic in of themselves. Like there's an answer. They
do play the mission too well as well.
Okay.
Like their speed, a couple of their stratagems are just insane. And the Shadow Weaver, oh my god, why is my brain not working? Their caster that could give -1 to wound and a minus 6-inch range bubble.
Yeah.
Shadow Seer to like everything within a bubble. That is extraordinarily powerful for the points. It's well worth popping that on them because -6-inch range on these smaller tables, it makes such an impact. So all of that combined makes them like an extremely strong army. They're a finesse army. Most lists you're not going to just be able to headbutt your way to victory, but it doesn't take a lot of reps, I don't think, to play them well. And that's what we're starting to see.
At current costing, they get a fair amount of models. Like when you combine the Skyweavers with the troops and stuff, like they're they're able to be everywhere and be really annoying.
And we're not seeing that many fusion pistols. There's a lot of lists now that are just foregoing fusion pistols for more bodies, right? They're running like 40 or 50 troops instead of, 20 or 30.
If no one's bothering to bring vehicles, whatever.
You can switch
just take caresses and live the dream.
That's fun. I like that.
Someone
I
mentioned
love
Sanguinary Guard.
Sanguinary
Guard are definitely too cheap. That is true for what they are, but I'm going to wait for a codex before I really talk too much into that. Because Blood Angels are, despite what people thought when the index came out, not doing very well post-index.
Really?
Dark Angels have had like a decent lift. They've had a couple top fours. Blood Angels, I don't know, guys. Like, listen, I'm a Blood Angels player, and you guys are you're breaking my heart. I want us to do well, and no one's doing it. You guys are bringing the bad stuff. Fix
Blood
it.
Angels were one of those secret hype armies. Like, even before the new indexes and stuff. Like, people were talking about how they were going to be good.
Yeah, Blood Angels is my favorite chapter tactic from the Marine book. Like,
they're good. Like I think they're good. I think that Blood Angel players are bad. They're now the Dark Angel players. What happened, guys? Like, Dark Angel players needed such a crutch to get to a point where they could get third place at an event. But Blood Angel players. Come on.
We were looking at the stats fairly deeply recently, and one thing I found kind of fascinating was versus, say, about a month ago, the share of Marine lists in the meta is identical, but the distribution between factions has shifted quite a bit. So that's just funny to me because people can just say that, especially now that all of them are in one book. Like, before I would never have thought I'm going to take this Dark Angels army and run it as Ultramarines. You know what I mean? Or like, this is my Blood Angels army. It's going to be Space Wolves today. Like, that was a bridge too far for me. But now that's totally something that's going to happen. Like, suddenly there are so many more Dark Angel players.
Yep. I mean, if you have some Terminators and you got a can of like that Corax White, maybe a little bit of some kind of Seraphim Sepia wash. Go to town, guys. Live your best lives.
What weeks would have been the first ones with like the Space Marine Codex kind of actually showing up in results?
Hilariously, Val, if you go into the filters on my website, there is a filter there that says Space Marine release. You just click on that and see them. Yep.
Well, I am just looking at the date filter. So let's look what else we got here. There we go. Marine Necron release. Nice.
Yep. That is just events that have allowed that, because it's not toned to a specific date, right? Some tournaments will say, they'll go an extra week without allowing them, etc. So
it's fascinating. Honestly, I was going to say it sounds relatively healthy as a matter. If I'm honest, like if there's an answer
I think it is. I think
it feels
it is
that way.
I feel good about the top. I don't feel good about the bottom. Like Craft World Eldar. Oh boy. Like at first I loved it that they were the worst, but now I feel bad because it's just
they're all playing Marines now. They're fine.
No, it needs to be equal measure. The 2 years where they were horrific in 8th, they need 2 years of that in 9th, and punishment should fit the crime.
Like, go all the way back to 6th edition, and like they were good for like 10 years. Like, they had a good 10-year run of being oppressive in one form or another. So, but still, like seeing that 38% win rate. Oh, like I look at it and I'm like, guys. And then I look at like the ITC Battle Apps data, and they're also at like a 40% win rate. It's like, oh, this isn't just a tournament thing. They're just bad. Like, they're just bad right now.
I might send a letter to Games Workshop, send them a cake. Like, I'm over the moon about that. Joyous.
Necron's post codex, like, immediate lift to 54% win percentage. That's pretty cool.
They've had 2 undefeateds at events. One this last weekend, one a couple like the launch weekend. So like Necrons are doing very well. The Silent King seems to be this currently at least the special spice. But the thing about them, luckily with COVID, is it used to be about a 2 to 3 week turnaround, and you'd see basically all the lists be the same. COVID luckily has given us a few extra weeks of we don't know what's actually the best yet, and that's always nice to see these lists take a little bit longer to kind of coagulate into what they're supposed to be or what people think is the most efficient. But that Silent King.
Wouldn't the Silent King like be the prototypical model that would just get wrecked like by eradicators and everything we just talked about?
No, because Meniers offer enough protection that that you have at least 1 to 2 turns where you can deal with the stuff that's going to hurt the Silent King, and then he's still very effective. He's such a midboard bully if you make him work. He has so many attacks, such a good buffer. Yeah. I think he is a great example of a well-designed large model.
Oh, nice! Yeah, wow. I thought that too. I like his ablative wounds. Like, yes. I think that is super valuable, and it's like, and really understands that first strike potential. But then you still want him to survive without it just being like with the Big Bird example, just a flat buff. You know, like having it fall apart in stages is quite good.
Yeah, devil's advocate though. The Satans seem nuts. Like, they seem absolutely crazy. And by comparison, wouldn't you get 2 for the Silent King?
Sorry, what?
Like Satans. Like the fucking the Shard and the Deceiver and all those guys.
Yeah, and you're still seeing people run 1 or 2 alongside the Silent King, because you can still fit like 40 or 60 warriors, a bunch of scarabs. You can make a really strong list. He's not like, he's expensive, but he's not oppressively expensive. I think he's relatively well costed for what he does. Maybe that'll change when someone finds out a combo that's just too broken. But and Necrons as a close combat army are fantastic. I love that they have kind of turned into a decently close combat army as well. Super nice.
They've got some really nice like units and models that do some excellent stuff, and when you double it up with reanimation, I think that's super fun. Like, especially for them mid-board bullies, baby.
Mid-board bullies.
Yeah, great hockey team. That's a great name. That's interesting. That's fascinating. I was just wrapped there, Pete. Thanks for unveiling that stuff, that information to us. I enjoyed that a lot. That's one of the things I've really enjoyed about doing Monday shows, where I've been doing the tournament results info. Is it's quite nice, like reading all the information in detail and hearing about it, because I don't know, it's just nice to be informed.
When I've been, so you asked what should go up in cost and what should come down in cost, and this is just because I have 2 like rabid Necron player people in my team chat, and I'm constantly ignoring lists that they're generating. But every time I do grind my way through a list of robots, I find like they feel in general to still be savagely overpriced. Like, I feel like they're still limping along at overcosted. Are they paying for like durability that they don't actually have?
I think if we're going to talk Necrons in general, protocols are absolutely mostly useless. Like, it's such a shitty feature that could have been cool, but was just like milk toast in execution.
Yeah, a lot of restrictions for some reason. Yeah,
so many restrictions. Like, nobody wants to run nobles because the nobles aren't worth it outside of protocols. So unless you're running Silent King, like, it's just, you just don't do it. They don't offer that big of a benefit. I think destroyers are probably, like, old school destroyers are probably the thing that's like plenty overcosted in that book. And the rest are decent. Like, the Tomb King Spider is fantastic. That Reanimator is absolute hot garbage. Like, don't take that if you're playing Necrons, because that is just an awful, awful model, which is unfortunate because it looks cool.
Nick's a big fan of that.
Yeah, well, he shouldn't be. Just run like whatever 15 more warriors instead of the Reanimator. But the Catacomb Command Barge is
that's something that
yes.
Like, that's an example though where you can tweak a points cost and make him actually worth bringing along.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, like if you wanted to specifically talk Necrons, which I don't think need the changes to make them better, because I think they're already pretty decent. Yeah, I would decrease the cost on general destroyers. I'd decrease the cost on the Reanimator, and I'd take a hard look at like nobles in general, because if you're not going to make the protocols worth it outside of the Catacomb Command Barge and the Silent King, like, there's no reason to take any of them. You might as well just take more Cryptex because they're super good.
Yeah,
I would never drop the poison on destroyers, and in fact maybe would double them because they're ugly as fuck. Like,
they're very ugly.
They make me feel like I get like those nightclub vibes from a long time ago. Like I see them and I'm like, nah, you're rejected at the door. You're just not coming in. Like not allowed. Don't want you as part of the party, basically. Wow.
Doomstalkers are decent. But
They
you got to
look good.
run. You got to go all in. You got to go all in on them. You can't just like run one. So
I just
that's
gotta disappear for a minute.
Oh, okay. Well, it's okay. Well, I was gonna say it's
He's
the
gone.
hour. It's the hour.
It is the hour.
Oh, is it the
of
hour?
our-
Okay,
it's-
then
it's the hour.
I can stick around for our 5-minute goodbye.
Well, I feel like we're in the middle of something. But Pete, thanks for that. That was fun. I enjoyed listening to that info. At least, let's all say goodbye, shall we? It feels short.
I didn't mean to do that. I mean, you can keep talking. I was just not going to disappear without telling you. That's all.
No,
It's like-
we might.
I mean,
as
if you
well,
need to
like,
disappear, you need to disappear.
yeah,
Okay.
it's been lovely seeing you.
I miss you.
Like Batman. Goodbye.
Goodbye, pal.
He's not wearing any trousers at all. Like he's completely. I don't know if you guys saw that, but there was a boxer shot. Pete, how likely is it? Do you think we'll see any changes anytime soon, or do you think it's just going to be a process of going through a lot of the codexes before we start to see some real infrastructural changes?
I think we'll have to wait several codexes in. I doubt we're going to get a January release. I could be wrong. I don't think we're going to get like a chapter approved in January because of COVID, because they want to be very, like, despite all of our complaints and our howling, I believe that there are people that want to be more data driven there, so that they want data that they trust. And I don't think they fully trust COVID data, unfortunately. And to a degree, there is some there's some validity to that, because we're only getting events in very specific areas. It's quite possible certain things aren't what they seem. The outliers, you can do all the regression testing in the world to see that they are an issue, or somewhat of an issue, like Harlequins and a couple of the Marine factions. But I don't believe we'll see too much in terms of like broad changes till like June next year. I will be pleasantly surprised if they did like a points update in January, but I doubt it'll happen. They'll wait till they get a bunch of 9th edition codexes and see how they play, because that's what they've been testing, right? I know that they've got like orcs on the way, and the scuttlebutt is that they're absolutely fantastic to borderline broken. And if that's the case, then they don't want to nerf anything and then have these things come out and just wreck because they nerfed. So I would say we're probably waiting until June for any kind of points changes.
June, July.
Maybe like a March like FAQ to tweak some rules that might be overpowered, but I don't think we'll even see that.
I actually think like as much as we'll come back to this conversation in 3 to 5 years, because I think the launch of this 40k, which has been the biggest launch of 40k ever in the history of the game ever, and therefore the biggest launch of a tabletop game and then tabletop tournament game system ever in the history of ever. Those are the facts, like cold hard. But like it's also happened during the middle of the pandemic, when more than anything, a game that is played between people can't really be done overly well. And so, like, I agree with you, because it's the same in Age of Sigmar. Like, there's been some tournament results, a lot of TTS stuff, but truthfully, it's like, well, is that just a guy's really good? Because it's like, there's some people who are persistent, and some people who've just completely left the game for a while. And I feel like that's true. Also, that's true also for 40k. And so, I don't know if it's nice, but it's interesting to kind of have this like lull, let the books kind of come out, and then in July, maybe like with the vaccines and everything else that we've heard about recently, like, the game sort of kicks off again. It feels like a nice pause, which is it's unique. It's a unique experience, I think, right?
And I think it's fine, specifically because there's nothing that, at least right now, that is statistically overly oppressive. Like I said, Harlequins are insane, but like you said, like they're insane because they're in a meta that lets them be insane. Right? Like we talked about how good they are into Marines, and Marines make up 50% of lists. So you're gonna do well if you're good against that one thing that makes up half the armies in the game. Which is a whole other like problem with just design in general, but whatever. Like I think this is fine. The only thing is, as they just need to be aware that there are potential outliers that they can deal with without waiting for more data, right? Like you could do us with a small, we did it with the Iron Hands. It took 2 weeks for us to look at Iron Hands and say, no, like this can't be this way, right? They don't have to wait several months. So we'll see. We'll see. With the Dark Angels Codex and the Death Guard and Blood Angels coming out, 3 potential powerhouse factions, there might be a need. But right now, I'm super keen with just kind of letting things flow.
Yeah, I mean, we still haven't quite worked out what the scenery is going to be in the game.
That's true. That's true.
That's true.
We still don't even know what terrain is, apparently. So
there's loads to learn. I'm really hoping the new year brings us the clarity on what the terrain is going to be. But I'm just going to go to the WTC pack and just slide out of the conversation. You know, someone's like, I've got a different terrain. I'm like, cool, I'm not part of it. Welcome back, Val.
We're not
Thank you. I'm back. I was just gonna say it's kind of cute that's our number one complaint is like, oh, how do we set up the board? Like before it was, how do these fundamental things in this rule set work? So I think that's great. I think we've progressed. And
I would say that setting up terrain is a fundamental part of the game. But I get what you're trying to say.
However, Pete, whoever in a previous edition that you can ever think of was like the number one thing we need to know from GW is how to set up our boards.
That's true.
No one was demanding like standardized board setups. That was not something that like it was occasionally suggested, but like Nova was unusual for doing it. WTC is unusual for doing it. So yeah, I think it's cool.
I think it's very
good job,
also,
Games Workshop. Good job.
Also, thank you to Cold Shoulder for just jumping onto Twitch to be part of the Twitch chat gang. Love that loads. And then for Scrivo for donating a gift subscription. Because Cold Shoulder has been writing us some erotic Age of Sigmar fan fiction on a Monday, which we really appreciated. Thanks very much. It's been a nice, weird journey that you've taken us on.
Get weird.
Should we head out for the day?
Yes, let's head out.
It's been lovely talking to you both. I can't thank you enough, as always. We've rocked a lot of shows now, gents. Like between us. So I just want to say
we should put
out
a box
10
set.
At least.
We should put out a box set.
I would love to put out a box set. I'm 100% going to try and set that up. Like an actual DVDs, the whole thing.
Oh man, there's been some emotional highs and lows, but you know, pandemic life and such.
I think I don't know. Me personally, I'm actually really excited for the game of 40k. I think it's in a good place, and I'm excited about the adjacency of 40k as well.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. I wish we could leave on some music, but unfortunately we can't. That would be the one. But you guys got any plans this week? Shout outs you want to make, Pete?
Nope.
Deep yawn. I am suggesting to Pete these days that maybe we suspend operations on Stat Center until there isn't a deadly pandemic in the world. We're in continuing and ongoing negotiations on the topic.
Which means like it's happening just because we have to negotiate. Hence why it's been a month since we've released an episode anyway.
Are we? Is it correct in saying that then, Val, you're asking Pete to stop the count? You're demanding to stop the count.
Sometimes I'm saying stop the count. Sometimes I'm saying keep the count. It's up and down. You know, it just depends on what.
Sometimes she's like, "Hey, what are you doing at 8 o'clock? Let's record something." So I get all my stuff ready, and then at 8 o'clock, I don't get a response from him, and so I just kind of like lay in my bed sobbing gently, waiting for the text to come through that never comes. Other times, he messages me, and I'm like knee deep in The Crown season 4, and I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here, buddy! I'm busy. I gotta
talk about The Crown.
Anderson.
We need to get out of here before we talk about The Crown because that'll be another half hour.
Okay, I'm going to catch up. I didn't know we were doing season 4, so by next week I'll be there with you guys. I love you both. You're both wonderful men. Next week. And can you just the Twitch chat, who I also love, and everyone on the podcast, whatever, can you just give Peter and Val some love because they're great guys. Hold on a second here. Yes, Meatball just called me a fuckboy. What does this mean?
That's so nice of him.
That's nice of him.
What is fuck you?
Do you not know the internet? Do you not know the internet term fuckboy?
Yeah, it's not good. We're gonna go with not good.
It's fine.
It's fine. Like a hit with the ladies.
Val, you're an old man. You're an old man. Take it.
I'm pretty sure it's more like a prison thing, but whatever. It's all good.
No,
it's not. No, it's a Tinder TikTok superstar.
No.
Yeah, you're a dude that like he likes to hit up the ladies and then you never respond back to texts. You know, it's just like what you've been doing to me.
Yes, dude, that's what it is. You're a podcast fuckboy. Thanks everyone for listening to the show.